What's up, everybody? This week on episode number 315 of the Atlantic Files, we are talking about the NBA free agency, Paul George going to Philly, Klay Thompson to Dallas, Mikal Bridges traded to the Knicks. Also, we're going to touch on the NBA Finals because we didn't get a chance to since we've been in and out of the podcast for over the past month or so. So, without further ado, let's get into episode 315.
Welcome to the Atlantic Files, where humor and vibes collide. Nets and Sixers, the king of the court. Jokes that hit you one more. Atlantic Division, we own the scene. Comedy, food talk, every routine. Mike Bash, Clausen, Fischbein on the mic, making you laugh every episode right. Game is strong, court to kitchen. We're never wrong. You know what time it is. It's time for the Atlantic Files.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. As always, joined by your host, myself, Alex Fischbein, and Dennis, Big Sexy Clausen. What's going on, Dennis? Yeah, there we go.
What up?
Got the peck dance back in it, baby.
It's been a while.
It's been a long while. I mean, it's been even longer since you and I have been on here, because the last couple it was either just me or me and Mike.
No, you poor thing.
I know I've been struggling.
Well, honey, the A-team is back.
Damn right. Back on a holiday week, no less.
That's right. America.
Hell yeah. Today was my last day of work until July 15th, so I'm feeling pretty nice right now.
So what's that, like 12 days or something?
Yeah, I guess it is. Today's what, the 3rd, right? Yeah. So next week, gonna go down, as they say in Philly, go down to the shore, the New Jersey shore.
Uh-oh.
So first time ever that we're doing a trip with my family and the Weiss family all together.
Uh-oh. How many times have they met?
Oh, they've met plenty. They know each other very well at this point.
Do they like go out to dinner and stuff, like without you guys?
Not without us, but
Okay.
I feel like it's also partly because my parents are pretty far away from her parents, so they're like, I'd say it's around like a 45-ish to an hour minute drive. I don't know why I just said an hour minute, but you get what I'm saying.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that if they lived closer that they would be going out to dinner?
I could see it.
They like each other because it's rare that in-laws like get along that well.
Yeah, they get along very well. Like
Usually everybody's mad about something.
I mean, when it comes to like birthdays or holiday dinners or whatever, like we all have a great time. So, and when it comes to the beach, we only have one child under the age of 21, and she just turned 3, which is my niece. So everyone is going to be like obsessed with her. So my brother and sister-in-law can get their own little break if they want. So I'm sure it'll be fine.
So are you going to be in the vicinity of anywhere where, that guy we know?
That guy we know. I think I'm not that far away from him. I forget which beach he's closest to, but I remember him saying that whenever we go to Ocean City to let him know because he's not that far away.
Now, is that where you're going?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you like vacations that much, or do you here's the thing, like I go on vacations and then I feel like I just get absolutely sick and tired of it about like 4 days in and I'm just ready to get back to normal.
I was actually just talking about this because my sister-in-law, she is at the beach right now for this week, and then she comes and joins us at the beach next week. So she's out there for 2 weeks.
I mean, how much
I
beach
could
you
not.
gonna get?
I know I couldn't do that. The 1 week I think is like the max for me. Outside of
Now,
that, then I'm just like I want to be home. I want to like I kind of like being in a routine. However, I don't want to work. So like if I'm in a routine that doesn't involve work, I'm perfectly happy.
you're right. That's what I'm saying. Like you go to the beach, right? And it's not the fact that you're at the beach. It's the
Mhm.
fact that like I'm sure you love your parents. I'm sure you love your in-laws, but there gets to a point where you're just like, I can't. I want to walk around. I want to scratch my balls. I want to wear my underwear out in the like. That's the level. Like you just want that stuff back. You know.
Oh yeah, I agree. I'm a very like I cherish my alone time. So and that includes like alone time like with Deanna. So like I just like that time of just us two or just me by myself. So there does get to be a time where I'm like, all right, everyone go away.
Right.
So I definitely know what you're talking about. Um
Yeah, because like I don't mind it, but there just gets to a point in time where you just gotta like go shut it down, like just be by yourself.
right. And it's also like in terms of the beach itself, an ocean guy. I'll hang out like on the beach. I'll like, read or hang out or drink or do whatever. But I'm not one that goes in the ocean much. I've always been a little sketchy of being in water that I can't see anything below me. So like I'll go in the ocean if we're like, we go to like an all inclusive or something and it's like that crystal clear water, like I'll go in that. But ain't no beach in New Jersey that has crystal clear water.
Fuck no. Guarantee
So
you're not gonna see the bottom of that water.
so yeah,
And
I'm
here's the
not
thing
I'm
too,
not
like
doing all that.
well, here's the thing too. I don't know if you keep up, but we got a lot of shark stuff going on right now this month. We have
Mhm.
National Geographic has Shark Fest. Discovery Channel has Shark Week. And the fact is that these, the great white sharks, they are swimming and they're making their presence known in these places. Like, and it's not just the great whites. We get these, blue sharks and bull sharks and anything else you can think
Tiger
of.
sharks.
Tiger sharks,
If you
fucking sand tiger sharks.
if you have a shark that's named after another like deadly animal, that's just asking for something bad to happen.
Right.
And by the way, speaking of my sister-in-law who is down in the beach right now and will be next week, she said, "Boy, go in the ocean, don't be scared." But she says, "Yo," and her boyfriend Grant, also friend of the show, says hello. And apparently her friend just saw John Kruk. So there's that.
How come nobody said hi to Dennis?
I don't know. That's
Fucking
pretty
mind.
messed up. It's messed up if you ask me.
And Polly would have said hello.
Oh, she definitely would have. One of the first things she told me when I went over for Mother's Day for my grandma, she told me to tell Big Sexy she said hello. And now Maggie says, "Yo, Dennis."
Yeah, it doesn't feel right now. It just feels forced.
Dennis the Menace.
That's true, honey. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? Sweetheart. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh god. Hey, we got Dimitri in the house. Everyone go check out his F1 podcast if you like F1. Plan C. Love it. Love it. Hope to be on it at some point.
F1?
Yeah.
The fuck do you know about F1?
I've actually been watching it not super close, but pretty loosely the last year.
So you think you're ready to go on a podcast and talk about it?
You know I can bullshit on a podcast, so I can bullshit.
True.
I like it just hurts my heart that the only American that's driving in F1 right now is dog shit. He's so bad.
I have no idea about anything.
All you need to know is the only American is terrible.
And
So,
Danica Patrick's not around anymore?
no.
That's who I care about.
He says, "Oh, I definitely want Alex on my pod," and he says, "I also miss you guys."
I mean, what the fuck? Like, nobody does nobody care about that I'm here tonight?
He said, "You guys."
But it always comes after the thing. Maggie didn't say hello. Grant certainly didn't fucking say hello. Dimitri. So whatever. I see how it goes.
I mean, I did just say that I wanted to be on his podcast, so I kind of plugged myself in there.
Makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, the ocean, and if you look at the like they're coming in like, these people, they're like, we're gonna just go up to our knees.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
These motherfuckers getting right up there.
Exactly. That's why I'm saying
I'm
not doing it. And like you said, I turned on Disney Plus to watch some Star Wars the other day. And so yeah. And the first thing I saw was Shark Fest, and I'm like, really? When I leave to go to the beach in 5 days? Like, is that really what we're doing now? It's fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
Dimitri here says, "Listen, Big Daddy, you and I should be excited about Nets' future."
Are you out of your fucking mind, Dimitri?
And he also said, "And I'm here to listen to basketball, so get on with it."
No. All right, then.
I like the haircut, though.
Thank you.
How's life been? It's just been a lot of lacrosse lately.
A lot of lacrosse. A lot of no sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad at least we have the Olympics this year. I love watching the Olympics.
Yeah, I've been watching a little track and field and swimming.
Oh, yeah. Some FIBA on right now, too.
That's going on, too?
Yeah, they're doing the Olympic qualifying tournament.
Oh, God. Can we just talk about basketball now?
I mean, that is basketball.
Oh, I thought you meant the other. No.
FIFA. You thought I said FIFA. No. FIBA.
No, FIBA's good. FIBA's
okay. Yeah.
But I can't keep track of that either because everything's round, Group A, Group B, round robin. It's like, can we just have a tournament?
Oh, I know. And it's like, it's weird to me that they're playing these Olympic qualifiers so close to the Olympic Games themselves. Like, they're doing the qualifier, and then they turn around and play the Olympics like a few weeks later. But I will say, Croatia beat Slovenia with Luka Doncic playing. Like,
I mean,
he really didn't do all that much.
Well, here's the thing. If I were the Mavericks, I would have called Slovenia, the president, whoever the fuck that is, and I would be like, this guy is not coming to your country. This guy was on the injury report throughout the entire finals. Ankle soreness, knee soreness, thoracic contusion that required pain-killing injections. And that's not my quote. That's a quote from other people. Now you want this fucking guy to be on your you want him to go and play for Slovenia? For what? You just got Klay Thompson.
No idea.
Which I would venture to guess is a pretty significant upgrade over Derrick Jones.
I mean, I would say so.
And I think too, like, I feel this weird thing about Klay. I think he's just gonna fucking go nuts this year. I think he's so pissed off about how things ended in Golden State and how he felt disrespected. Because are we going into that? You got a thing to throw up? So that
we can.
Thank you.
Hit that right now.
So this whole, if I were Klay Thompson, and I was thinking about this a lot too, I said, here we got Draymond Green, a guy who punches his teammate, arguably cost them a 4-peat against the Cavaliers because it had, and I'm going to go to my grave saying this, had Draymond Green not been suspended for that series with the Cavs, the Warriors probably would have beat them, and the Cavs probably wouldn't have come back to win.
Right.
He punches his teammate. The guy gets ejected. He gets suspended. He get suspended for a long time this season, not just like a couple games. Like there was talk like this guy needs like some pretty significant counseling,
like psychiatric help.
Right. Like you're not even at like a hey, go cool off for a couple games. It's like, hey, we need this guy to get psychiatric evaluation. You're Klay Thompson, and you're sitting there going, I've been the second best option in this, sometimes the first. Yeah, I was hurt for a little bit, but if it weren't for me, we wouldn't have had all these titles. It's certainly not Draymond. But yet Draymond gets his extension. And they're talking about this extension back into the start of last season about Klay Thompson getting his extension. These motherfuckers, you would think that they would have made that a priority before Draymond Green. I don't want to hear about first apron, second apron, any of that bullshit. You find a way to make this happen. And the fact that Klay Thompson has to go up to Steph Curry and say, keep Steph out of it because I don't need you advocating for me. Right. I want them to show me that they love me. Right. And they did not do that at all. Now they're coming out and they're absolutely. So absolutely disrespected. And they came out afterwards and saying, we're going to retire his jersey. But I'd be like, fuck that. I don't want any of that shit. You guys are so disrespectful. You should have gave me as much money as you certainly gave Draymond enough money.
And what the hell has he been doing?
Nothing.
I completely agree. I mean, and Dimitri says I'm at work right now too. Well, I was gonna say get back to work, but nah, fuck it. Watch this on company time. Cheers.
Right. Go take a shit too.
There you go. But I completely agree that the way that Golden State treated Klay made it seem like they don't give a fuck about him. Right now, on BovadaSportsbook.com, the Mavericks are 6th highest odds to win the NBA championship next season, while Golden State is 11th at plus 3,000. And so, like, not only do you give up one of the cornerstone guys from your team that has won you a bunch of championships, everyone is blowing the whole he went 0 for 10 in an elimination game out of the water. Out of the water. That became a meme and a joke, and like people just commented on every Instagram post now, and it's really just worn out. The guy had one bad playoff game. Like, God forbid. He's not supposed to be a Steph Curry superstar. He's supposed to be the co-star. There's a big difference in that. And not only that, but we're talking about a Klay Thompson that came back from 2 major back-to-back injuries and still is one of not probably top 2 shooter in the entire league.
Not only that, he came back from injuries and led them to a title in 2022. And remember, the 2022 season, they weren't really that fucking good.
Exactly.
They were good at the playoffs, but they weren't good during the regular season.
Exactly. And meanwhile, everyone swore Draymond was going to be off the team, especially after punching your teammate. But no, they turn around and trade Jordan Poole. Keep Draymond.
No, that one was okay.
I mean, I'm not saying keep Jordan Poole.
No, that one was fine. I have no problems with that.
That's fine. But also trade Draymond. Just trade both. Get them both out. Because, like, Draymond at this stage in the game, and it's funny, like, a lot of people give Paul George shit, and we're going to get to him, but a lot of people give him shit about his podcast, and he talks about how, like, into his podcast he is and how he wants to get better at podcasting. But there isn't many people talking about how, like, Draymond just goes and podcasts like directly after a game, and it like just randomly talks shit on podcasts and has this whole feud and everything going on with, of all people, Yusuf Nurkic. Like, why is he still able to be there and be a distraction meanwhile, you're letting Klay go. Whereas Draymond, especially as he gets older, he's not the same defensive player of the year, Draymond. He's not hitting threes. He's still a decent passer, sure, but he's not the same type of impact player he once was, especially as an undersized big. And they took him and moved him around different places in the roster. Then they took oh wow, I'm blanking on his name. The center that's still there.
Looney?
Looney. They took Looney, moved Looney to the bench, and kind of went away from the entire lineup that was their bread and butter. And like Looney barely got playing time as the season went on.
Which I don't understand because, and I still don't get that because Looney's durable as shit.
Yep.
He looks like he's very out of shape, but he's in extremely good shape. And the guy, you're not going to find a lot of guys who are better rebounders than Kevon Looney.
And someone who plays their role, plays it well, and doesn't bitch about it.
You don't hear him say a word.
Doesn't care.
Then, on top of that, during the season, Klay, not only does he not get money, but then he gets benched.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I just don't understand, like, from where Golden State is even thinking about what's, like, their path forward, especially because they let Chris Paul go as well. And then they signed Kyle Anderson.
That's okay.
I mean,
that one's fine too. At
this point, you're going to need people. But they did sign Kyle Anderson to a 3-year deal, which I thought was decent. But the other thing is, if we're not talking about the defensive side of things, especially in their prime, Kyle Anderson on offense is similar to Draymond Green on offense. The play style, the slowness, the passing. Except I probably would say Kyle Anderson might be a better shooter without looking at the stats right now.
Well,
but you can't play them together.
No.
And then they also just signed somebody else.
Buddy Hield.
Buddy Hield. And I mean, sure, you let go of Klay Thompson and you get another shooter in Buddy Hield, but like Buddy Hield defensively isn't going to give you anywhere close to older Klay Thompson. So I just don't understand exactly. And then they got DeAnthony Melton, which I like DeAnthony Melton, love him a lot, but he's got back issues now and undersized on top of that. So if you have Steph and Melton together, those are two very small point guards. And I don't know how that's going to work for them.
On top of that, Steph Curry's, if he plays more than 65 games, that would be a miracle. I'm not saying he can't, because he's been doing okay, but I'm saying like Curry's due for a pretty significant injury. True. Not that I'm wishing it on him, but
it's kind of his pattern,
right? So and then once Steph gets hurt, now who you got? Now, not knocking Buddy Hield, because I'm a Buddy guy, but
yeah,
you don't have any. You got Kyle Anderson. What's Kyle Anderson going to do for you?
I mean, Andrew Wiggins hasn't been anything last year.
I don't even know what the hell's going on with Andrew Wiggins.
I don't think anybody does.
Because the guy, remember there was that story that he took that personal leave, and then they said, like, I saw a rumor, and I don't even know if it's true, but they were talking about his baby moms said that the kid that he said was his wasn't his, and they missed all that time. And I don't even know if it's true, but I'm just saying, that's some of the rumors that were going around. And then last year, he missed more time for a personal issue too. He was nowhere near what he was. Now, I'm a Wiggins guy. I like Wiggins,
right?
But what the fuck? You're not going to replace Klay Thompson.
No. That's not a guy that's easily replaceable in like for any team, let alone for Golden State where they are especially strapped with cash. Like you have all that money getting paid to Steph Curry, to Draymond, and now you're bringing in some other guys on like decent contracts and everything. Wiggins is still getting paid a good bit of money. So you're not going to there was that the whole rumor of, and we can segue this, there's the whole rumor of them trying to trade for Paul George, but obviously that went through too. So now Paul George agrees to sign in Philly. I had very mixed feelings about Paul George signing with Philly because a lot of people have asked me who I wanted the Sixers to get in free agency, whether it was, trade for Brandon Ingram, sign Paul George, sign DeMar DeRozan, all these people. And I was cool with Paul George as long as it wasn't a max contract, but it looks like that's what exactly happened. Paul George, as of right now, let me just make sure I'm getting this correct here. Paul George is 34 years old, just turned 34 a couple months ago. They signed him to a 4-year deal, max contract. So he is on the team until he is 38 years old. And we're talking about a guy whose knees are broke down, who has a very good knack of just not playing games, who has actually disappeared in game 4s or closeout games, and is just like at this point, I would say just like wishy-washy. It's just like I don't know what he's going to actually produce because I don't know how much he's going to play. Last year was the most games he's played since the 2018-19 season, which was when he was with Oklahoma
77?
City. He played 74 last year, 77 in 18-19. And his healthiest stretch was his final 2 seasons with the Pacers from 15 to 17, and then his 2 seasons in OKC. Since then, it was 48, 54, 31, 56, and then last year was 74. And that includes, missing playoffs, making some of the playoffs. Like he played last year, but then last year was the first time they made the postseason, or that he played in the postseason since the 2020 season. And last year's playoffs, he was okay. He wasn't anything like unstoppable. He was 19.5 points per game, and that's with Kawhi not playing many of those games. So, and that was like Derek Jones Jr. was locking him down. So I'm very mixed. Don't get me wrong. I think it does. Like he's an obvious upgrade from Tobias Harris, but if the rest of the roster isn't built out with reliable and energetic and like role players that will do the dirty work, then it's just going to amount to the same thing.
Well, I think the Drummond pickup was pretty significant. His first time in Philly wasn't really that, but I think Drummond kind of got his confidence back when he started to get some starts again in Chicago. When he was starting, he's still a double-digit rebounder.
True.
So, or at least very close to it. But you're talking about a guy who, he's not nearly in Joel Embiid's level, but he's certainly a natural center who's going to be much better suited for your team than, Mo Bamba, Paul Reed, Paul Reed, whatever, but like, especially like Mo Bamba, you know what I mean? Like, I think Drummond's going to be instrumental in helping keep Embiid healthy because Embiid needs, like, he needs somebody. You can't be playing him all the minutes. And I think the benefit too of adding Paul George, even though I'm not a Paul George guy, you have somebody who you can rely on outside of Tyrese Maxey. Because last year, certainly Tyrese Maxey, and that was it. You didn't have anybody else. Buddy Hield didn't do anything. Lowry certainly wasn't somebody you could. So you have these guys, and adding George I think is going to be huge. I still think that it's not enough. The Sixers played the Knicks well last postseason,
Right.
but the Knicks are certainly in a much better position in advancing deeper into the postseason. Grant, are we segueing into that? I don't know if I should.
We can. I will say here, so History Swan, what's up? Says, should the Sixers sign and trade for Ben Simmons? No. not to be too blunt, but absolutely not. I don't know. I don't know if you were being sarcastic or not, but for the love of everything holy and for my own mental health, I am going to say absolutely not. And I just want to plug, by the way, because you brought up the Knicks too. On Bovada right now, Joel Embiid is at plus 650 for the MVP odds next season, which is fifth or tied for fourth with Giannis. And Jalen Brunson is only a couple spots behind at plus 2,000. So,
well, I said it last year. I said Brunson's going to be top 5 in MVP voting this year.
True.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So before we segue into the Knicks,
God, there's so much shit going on. We have a lot to talk about.
I know we haven't been on here in a while, so there's a lot to catch up on. I do love the fact that the Sixers re-signed Kelly Oubre, and not only re-signed him, but like his contract still wasn't really that expensive. Obviously not the minimum that they signed him for, which was fucking amazing last year, but I do like some of the other moves that they made. I don't really care for Eric Gordon because it's just another old ass player that I'm sure will be super inconsistent, and there will be times where they need him to score and he doesn't score and it pisses everybody off. So that's whatever.
How about there's a guy floating around who used to be teammates with Kelly Oubre.
Miles Bridges?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's unlikely, but hypothetically.
It also depends how much money he's looking for.
Oh yeah, they ain't gonna be able to sign. I'm just being wishful thinking, because if they could figure out like some way to take on a guy of that caliber, or even if somehow DeMar DeRozan agreed to less cash to try to have a legitimate chance of winning a title,
right?
Like in Philly, we're going to be like you know what I mean? Like if DeMar DeRozan, the guy who played more minutes than anybody, whatever team he lands on, and even at his age, to me, I think DeRozan's certainly a hell of a lot better than Paul George is. But
so when I was talking about when everyone asked me if I wanted Paul George or DeRozan or anybody, I actually said I would rather have DeRozan on a 2-year deal, because if it doesn't work, he's off the books. You just keep going with Tyrese Maxey.
But the Bulls tried that. You don't want that.
Yeah, but I he's at least durable. He is dependable. He'll get a bucket. He's a good leader.
But even if DeRozan, who's 2 years younger than Paul George, if DeRozan wanted a max contract, I would still give it to him.
That's where I would not give him a max contract. I would give him 2 years, plenty of money in those 2 years. Like, shit, 2 years, 80 million, whatever. But I would not give him a full 4-year max contract. But also, looking at some of the free agents that are still out there, there are still guys that are definitely helpful in their roles outside of just like DeMar DeRozan. I mean, there's also like it hurt that Batum went back to the Clippers because I thought Batum would still be a perfect fit with the Sixers right now. But Precious Achua, I wouldn't mind him as a backup power forward or even a backup center in like mixing in with Drummond and Paul Reed. I wouldn't mind somebody along the lines of like Sadiq Bey. I know he's coming off of an ACL tear, but if you bring him off the bench just to hit some shots, I wouldn't mind that at all.
I'd be completely fine with adding Sadiq Bey to my team.
Exactly. And he's probably going to be cheap because people are worried about the torn ACL. And then, like you said, there's Miles Bridges still out there. But there's also Reggie Bullock Jr. can come off the bench and shoot threes. There's also, well, did Nick Claxton ever sign yet?
Yeah, he signed.
Oh, okay. Robert Covington, if he signs on the veteran minimum, I would take that. Although he might not play because God knows he's always hurt. Seth Curry is back on free agency. Seth Curry can give you some shots there. There's Spencer Dinwiddie as a backup guard. You got Simone Fontecchio as a backup wing. There is also I would take Markelle Fultz as a backup guard.
You want to know something? Markelle Fultz in Orlando, though, wasn't too bad, but outside of his injuries, and he wasn't injured as much as people thought he would be, especially later on. Like not last season, but the year before that. Like Markelle Fultz kind of looked like he was starting to return to form.
Yeah, I would love to bring Markelle Fultz back as a backup point guard. I would be perfectly fine with that.
But
YTBS says, "Who the hell said sign Penn?"
None of us did. I didn't say that. I don't even want him on the Nets.
I mean, even Dimitri, another Nets fan, says you don't need that shit.
No, he's like herpes. You can't get rid of it.
But yeah, there's plenty of guys still out there.
The Sixers, though, why am I doing that with I'm like Trump. I'm like
huge.
But the Sixers, that debate was so fucking funny, by the way. I don't want to get into that, but it was so
that
funny.
Was ridiculous.
Anyways, the fuck was I going to say? I'm thinking about fucking
too old.
But the Sixers need to add. They need another piece. They can't. The Knicks are loaded right now, and the fact is Precious Achua is pretty much going to be going back to the Knicks.
Probably.
It sucks they lost Hartenstein, but they added Mikal Bridges, and I would take Mikal Bridges 100 times out of 100 times over Isaiah Hartenstein.
Sure.
Especially you're going to get a guy. If there's a guy who's perfect for Tom Thibodeau, it is Mikal Bridges. You talk about the most durable guy in the National Basketball Association. A good guy, not just a fucking no problems. Goes out there, plays. And remember too, he was a runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year award. So we're not going to be talking about a guy who Brooklyn wanted to make the number one scoring option, because I don't think he'll ever be that. He's not real. Somebody was talking about how good of a shooter Mikal Bridges was. And I go, you must not have been watching the same games I was watching, because he ain't that good of a shooter. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
But what you get is durability. You get a guy who's playing hard. You got a guy who's sound defensively, and you get so much other shit from him. The fact that he's on the Knicks now is completely a huge needle mover. And It puts them. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying definitely.
So you're looking at a Knicks team. Now, their biggest problem right now that they need to address is the 5. Because Mitchell Robinson ain't going to stay healthy. Precious Achua, and to his credit, though, he played really good. As the starter when Hartenstein and Robinson were both out. So if I were the Knicks, I would be that guy earned another contract, and he deserves to get not only just minutes, but he deserves to get good minutes.
Yeah, I agree. I like Precious Achua a lot. I liked him in Toronto. I like him with the Knicks. And to your point about Bridges, I mean, when you go back to his Phoenix days, when he was attempting only around 4 threes a game, he was hitting like 42%, from 40 to 42%. But then once he went to Brooklyn and you're depending on him to be the number one guy and he's jacking up 7 threes a game, I mean, he's still hitting 37%, which is respectable, but it's not the same type of shooter you see shooting 42.5% from three or knocking down 54% of his shots from the floor because he's not depended on to be a high volume scorer. He is a great defender and a great like third option slash could be second option on offense.
He's like
That's
a
where he
2D.
thrives the most. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that also you don't even have to depend on him fully on defense because they re-signed OG Anunoby.
Well,
Wait, they did re-sign him, right?
no, they did. But what I'm saying is that you can't trust him to stay healthy.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't know what planet people are on though with OG Anunoby. Yeah, he made a difference for the Knicks, but my fucking God, this guy back in Toronto, he couldn't stay healthy. He goes to New York, same shit. Now, granted, they're hoping he's going to stay healthy, but that's not going to happen. But if we
my thing with OG Anunoby, $212 million, 5 years for a guy that, don't get me wrong, great defender, has only played more than 67 games twice in his entire career, has maxed out so far at 17 points a game, 5.5 rebounds a game, 2.6 assists a game. He has finished in the all defensive team once. That was not this past season, but the season before in Toronto. And in the since his rookie season, has played 50 or fewer games 3 times out of the next like 5 or 6 seasons in that area. And you're paying $212 million for that. And Dimitri says, I got to run, but here's my 2 cents. I'm happy that Bridges is out. Quote unquote, the leader superstar. Bullshit was insane, and I did not like the way the Nets were going.
I still don't.
I mean, it's still rocky right now, but I get what you mean by saying, like, using Mikal as the number one guy moving forward, probably, I mean, it definitely wasn't the way to go. And our boy Mario from NBA a la Chilena, he is here. He says, what's up, fellas? What's going on, man?
He's so cool when you say that.
It's just the very limited Spanish that I remember.
See, at least he said hello to me, unlike other people.
That's true. That's a good point. By the way, Knicks on Bovada right now are 5th in odds to win the championship behind only the Celtics, the Sixers, the Nuggets, and the Thunder. So those are the only teams above them in odds right now. Dimitri says it is, but at least, quote, oh, we are in rebuild. Okay, thanks. I'm going to buy some $15 VIP tickets.
That's still way too much.
Oh, true. Very true. I think the best comment I saw about the Mikal trade was we're about to see when an immovable object goes up against an unstoppable force with Tibbs playing everybody the most minutes they can handle and Mikal being the most durable player in the NBA. Everyone's like, we're going to see which one wins out in this battle.
My money's on Bridges still.
Oh, I know. I mean, he's played all 82 games or 83 games in the last 3 seasons straight, but 4 of his 6 seasons total have been all 82.
Now, the Knicks, though, the Celtics are just so freaking good.
Yeah. we might as well move over to them because we haven't been on here. We haven't talked about the Celtics winning the NBA Finals. Oh, and by the way, Dimitri says it was nice chatting with you guys. Love you, miss you. Hope to hop on soon. And hey, Alex, let's get you on Plan C soon.
I love you too. Apparently, I feel the love.
Love you too, Dimitri. Thanks for hopping on and hanging out with us, Scott. Man.
But the thing I think he knows that I don't want to be on any other podcast.
But also, especially an F1 podcast.
Right, but I want to be invited. I just don't want to go.
I got you.
Like, it'd be nice, like, oh wow, that's really nice. But then when the time comes, I'm like, I do not want to go on this show. And I mean that in the most loving way possible.
Makes sense.
You could have invited me to the Playboy Mansion when I was 18, and 3 weeks beforehand, I would have been all pumped. But the day of, I would be like, I just want to watch TV.
I do that all the time with plans. I'm like, oh yeah, it sounds like a great time. And then the day comes and I'm like, you know what sounds better? Sitting on the couch with my dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's every day.
Dimitri says, okay, either Dennis is coming over or I'm shutting it down. And then YTBS here says, how the hell do the Celtics have enough money to have the two most paid NBA players in the league? It somehow feels unfair. I mean, Jason Tatum's contract is large. That's ridiculous. But so can you remind me what happens when they hit the second apron? Is there a penalty?
Pay a shitload of money.
Oh, it makes you pay even more. There's not like a penalty to it. It's just pay more money.
Yeah, you get it's like tax.
Oh, it's like a super luxury tax.
Yeah, like the penalties are pretty harsh. And then I think it goes down to like draft picks and all that stuff.
Okay. Because I know it's like it hits luxury tax, then it's first apron and then second apron, right?
You know what? We'll talk about that next week after I read up on it. But you want to know something? It's so exhausting that I don't even want to read all of it. I get the premise behind it. It's so complex. And I would venture to guess that there are probably people in the league who don't even fucking have any idea about it either.
Probably not. I bet you the Chicago Bulls front office is like, we're not even going to spend that much money anyway.
Right. Our team sucks. We don't worry about anything.
But anyway, the Celtics, the NBA Finals themselves were a lot more boring than the rest of the playoffs.
You think?
It was just
horrible.
A slaughter. Yeah. I mean,
but did anybody really think that would be good?
I thought that
you did.
I thought that with the momentum that Dallas had, that they had a chance. I didn't think it was going to be an all-out slaughter.
I mean, the Celtics are a reality check for they're so good. And there are people who are going, I think this is going to 7 games. I'm like, you shut the fuck up. It's not going to 7 games. That's 7 games.
I mean,
7 games. How?
Do you think that they continue to roll Porzingis out there? Or do you think they try and trade him while his value is still up there?
I think his value is higher going into last season than it is this season. He missed 20 games during the regular season. And then he did the same thing that everybody else was doing, was he strained his soleus, which was the new sexy term this year, was for the calf strain, the right soleus strain.
Oh, they couldn't just say calf.
For some reason it had to be soleus, and that had to. We can't say calf anymore for some reason. But then all of a sudden he comes back, he plays for a game and a half, and then he's back out with that foot thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just like a normal foot injury,
right?
Like when you heard like surgeons and shit talking about, they're like, You never see anything like that. Like, that is so rare that something like that happened. But it's Kristaps Porzingis, so it's not that rare when you consider if it's going to happen to anybody, it's going to happen to him.
That's very true. The only two other people that I would assume it would happen to are Joel Embiid and Paul George, which now that I'm thinking,
I wouldn't go. Embiid, maybe. I think Porzingis is the perfect guy for that injury to happen.
Oh, I agree.
But I don't think that they're going to get. I mean, you're not going to get any better than Porzingis. But the goal should be to get him to the postseason. Like,
right.
I mean, granted, maybe he came back a little too early from the calf issue. But you got to get him to the postseason. If you get him in the postseason, he's a difference maker without a doubt. Even when he was coming off the bench, when he did come back for those two games, for that game and a half, he was only playing about 20 minutes, but he was still pretty damn productive off the bench.
True.
And for crying out loud, remember Al Horford was in OKC getting paid to do nothing, and now look at him.
Doing everything. I mean, they still have Horford, Cornette resigned, Neemias Queta resigned. Like, they have other centers that can at least get them through regular season games. We've also seen them get them through regular season games. And not only that, but they also re-signed Derek White to a hell of a contract. Drew Holiday is making a good bit of money. So they have a lot of guys still on the team that, I mean, not only are they making a bunch, but they're like the top contributors on the team. The only other free agents that the Celtics even had to resign are a lot of like the lower level guys like O'Shea Brissett, JD Davison, which was one of their two-way players. Who else? They re-signed Cornette, they re-signed Queta, and I think that might have been it. Oh, technically Svi Mikhailuk, but like he wasn't playing at all. Drew Peterson, another two-way guy. A lot of these people, nobody even knows who the hell they are. Oh, Xavier Tillman re-signed. So there's another center. So like they see, that's the thing that kills me. And YTBS here says Al Horford gives me nightmares as a Sixers fan. I completely fucking agree. And on top of that, it kills me because Brad Stevens and the Celtics can understand, hey, we got an injury-prone center. We got Porzingis. We know he's going to get hurt. So let's fill in the reserves with players that we can mix and match and give the coach more opportunities to stay afloat outside of that. Now, don't get me wrong. Embiid's impact way bigger than Porzingis' impact. They still have Tatum, Brown, White, and Holiday to go along when Porzingis isn't there. But for the longest time in Embiid's career, their best backup center was like a 35-year-old Dwight Howard. So I just don't understand how other GMs can see it. Other GMs can understand, let's get in a whole bunch of role players that we can find for not crazy amounts of money, but it can just never happen with like, I mean, even in Brooklyn, can't find those guys. And it's just, it pains me.
But not only you find those guys, but you find those guys who just don't bitch and complain.
Yes.
Like Cornette's just super happy to just come off the bench.
Exactly. I mean, guys like who's the other white guy, the shooter? Not Pritchard, but the other one.
Hauser.
Another one. Just shows up, does his job. Not making a whole bunch.
I just wonder if there's some way that the Sixers or somebody can figure out how to get Jeremy Grant.
I mean, he's still making a good bit of money, isn't he?
He's making a ton of money. He got signed. He signed like a couple days before Lillard said he wanted to be traded.
That's true.
And
Oh
then he's
yeah,
sitting there going, "What did I do?"
so he's still under contract for 3 more seasons with a player option for a 4th season. And this coming year he makes 29.7 million. Then it goes to 32, 34.2, and then if he opts in that's 36.4. I don't know why he wouldn't opt into that. So
If
that's
I were the
probably why.
Sixers, if I were the Sixers too, I would be getting on the horn with Toronto and be like, "Hey, what's Bruce Brown up to?"
That I would love. That's a perfect role player right there. The only thing is, since the Sixers literally like lost their entire roster, they don't have much to trade that the Raptors would really be interested in outside
Paul
of a
Reed.
couple picks. But
Paul
like,
Reed.
I mean, I guess you could trade Paul Reed, but when it comes, I mean, he's not going to be like a starting center.
Who?
They still have Pirtle, right? Toronto.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, they could trade for him as like a backup 4, but
But I wouldn't be surprised though if Toronto just blew the rest of it up and just started dealing. Um, I mean, they have quickly Barrett and my man's, but then
yeah,
after that, like Pirtle, okay, and then, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't get rid of him at some point.
they got good old Dick on their team too.
That's true. Him and his mom.
Yep. Oh god. Did you see when he who was he sent a picture of someone's jersey next to his for their birthday? I forget who it
Yeah, it was
was.
like Dick and then something. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did
And
that
then
on
he and then he did the jersey swap with Anthony Black. That was great. Um but yeah, I mean, there's still some things that the Sixers definitely can do. I mean, I was really hoping for them to get Caldwell Pope. I thought that would be the perfect move, but obviously that didn't happen. Um, but there's still guys in some of these teams, especially like I feel like you could trade for a lot of different people with Portland. Portland still is looking to just uh, fire sale the shit out of that team.
Well, even
And
Anthony Simons isn't safe anymore.
I mean, he's another guy that gets hurt all the time, but if you're already going with the guys they have, fuck it. I mean, there's also like what? Uh I mean, they probably wouldn't be dealing like Jabari Walker, but like that would be a guy that would be great. Chris Murray. I don't know if they're really locked into Chris Murray.
I think he's just there, and they were
True.
like, "Well, his twin is pretty good, so let's see what turns out here."
That's true. Tamani Kamara, I'd be fine with him as a backup. I mean, but
Shit, DeAndre Ayton at this point is ready to be a backup. It's like nobody wants me.
that's true. I mean, that pretty much takes us to other free agency moves because we're kind of got off some of the topics we were talking about
The
before. But
Celtics
yeah,
are good. They're probably going to win it again next year. Case closed.
they're definitely going to be up there. So remaining free agents, I mean, there's still plenty of guys. We talked about it a little bit. There's still plenty of guys that can help teams. Sadiq Bey probably being one of the best in
God,
terms of
you're
like.
really hard for him tonight, aren't you?
I'm just saying it. Out of the guys left, him, Miles Bridges. I mean, those are probably like 2 of the top guys left. You said Claxton already signed. So there's still like, I mean, Seth Curry, Jay Crowder is still there. DeMar DeRozan, sorry, he's the best one left.
Jay Crowder. Come
Yeah,
on.
there's Jay Crowder. I mean, Spencer Dinwiddie's still there. Uh, Kessler Edwards and Malachi Flynn. Markel Fultz, Gallinari, Taj Gibson.
So there's nobody, basically.
Yeah. Jordan Goodwin could be a decent backup somewhere. I mean, Javonte Green might be a backup somewhere. Ashton
Devontae
Higgins.
Green would be actually, if the Sixers were smart, they would, because he was actually playing pretty well in Chicago.
Yeah. Haywood Highsmith. I would love Haywood Highsmith.
No, you wouldn't.
As a backup, that'd be plenty good with Haywood Highsmith. I mean, he used to be on the Sixers as a two-way player already. So I'd be fine with that. But, I mean, there's still, I don't know. There's some teams that I'm still curious to see, like, what even they decide to do, because, like, teams like the Memphis Grizzlies, I mean, like, right now on Bovada, they're in the upper half for championship odds. They're right after the Golden State Warriors. They're at plus 4,000 because they had a decent draft pick. They ended up getting that Zach Edey guy. Whether people think he's going to be good or not is neither here nor there, because there's still plenty of guys that were hurt all last year that are now all coming back. We don't know if John Morant's still going to play like a reckless, drunken Lamborghini all the time, but if he stays healthy enough, they're definitely going to be in the upper half of the West.
But the thing with John Morant is you wouldn't really be out of bounds by saying he's a top 10 player in the league.
No.
And he has MVP caliber upside, without a doubt. I think we can agree on that.
Yep.
Can he put the guns away? Just stop getting hurt, put the guns away, and you could be the MVP. Not only that, but he led the Grizzlies pretty damn far when, so they've made the Western Conference Finals before. It's not unreasonable to assume that the Grizzlies can't get back to that level. Sure, they don't have Dylan Brooks or whatever. They have Marcus Smart. You have Desmond Bain. You have Jared Jackson Jr.
They have two former Defensive Player of the Years on that team.
You have some pretty good players on that team.
Yep.
So
they did not re-sign Luke Kennard, right? He's a free agent.
They didn't re-up his $14 million option, but there's optimism both sides are going to work out a new agreement and bring him back.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys on that team that can still make plenty of noise. And like, I mean, like I just said, Jaren Jackson Jr., former Defensive Player of the Year. He's still 6th in Defensive Player of the Year odds on Bovada. And in terms of MVP, I mean, John Morant is about 10th, right behind Jason Tatum. He's above Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Halliburton, all those guys. He's above them in MVP odds. So those are two guys.
I mean, we're talking about a guy like John Morant, right? Say in a perfect world, he stays healthy. He doesn't get into trouble. We're talking about a guy who's better, arguably, than Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Right.
We're talking about a guy who's could be better than like Tatum and Brown and
Anthony Edwards.
We're talking about a guy who's like a really, 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 really good player. Superstar level player, franchise-changing player.
Right.
Just as made some stupid decisions.
True.
And I would venture to guess too, and I don't know why I keep using that phrase, but whatever. But I would probably assume that had it not been for the fact that he was, and it's going to be a rough offseason for him too, because he's still rehabbing.
Right.
But I would assume, though, that if he wasn't distracted last offseason and had his sights set on actually like doing stuff, other than trying to avoid getting suspended for 25 games, that he may have been in a better position from a physical standpoint to where he could have maybe avoided getting injured.
Right. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's a team that, like, just like the Warriors had that year where they were all hurt, they end up getting James Wiseman, but then they all come back and they're immediately a championship contender. It's along those same lines, except they obviously haven't won before, but they're still a contender the moment all of these guys come back at the same time. YTBS here says Jaren Jackson Jr. has also really improved his offensive game this past season when Ja was out. That's also true, which is big for them. That's something that they've needed.
Here's the thing about that. Remember the Grizzlies injury report, though?
Yeah.
I'm not going to get. I mean, I've never seen it. And the Heat had some pretty damn long injury reports back in the day.
Yeah.
But that Grizzlies injury report, like, I thought I missed a call from them asking me if I wanted to play.
That was really bad. That was really. But I will. So, and the other thing is, with Ja Morant and a lot of those guys being out, they did uncover some diamond in the rough type players. G.G. Jackson played very well for them last year. Vince Williams Jr., he's another guy that's going to get plenty of minutes.
But I feel like that was a situation like from Portland like a year ago. Like, remember when Portland was hurt toward it and then Lillard was out and then Anthony Simons was playing really well and now all of a sudden he's not really that good.
Right.
And they're like, holy shit, we're stuck with this guy. When Jabari Walker and, you know, guys like that, and then all of a sudden, like, they were only good because they were there, because they were available and they got shots. Like, I feel like that may have been the same situation in Memphis. And I'm not saying that Jaren Jackson isn't capable or what did it just improve naturally. I'm just curious to see with Desmond Bain healthy, Marcus Smart, John Morant, like he's he's going to go back to, and I'm not talking at YTB5 or whatever his name is. Great guy. I'm not talking at him. He knows this, but it's gonna. He's not going to be able to keep up that same level of production.
Right. Especially offensively, is going to take a hit. But I do think Vince Williams and G.G. Jackson coming off the bench and having lineups where it's like John Morant with those guys, or even if it's Marcus Smart with those guys, they'll get looks off of the bench, and the bench unit will be improved in that regard. And then there's still the whole, like, I'm not sold on Santi Aldama for sure. I think he's one of those guys that you're referencing in the Portland aspect of things. I don't think he's going to really like cut it really all that much. And there's still
See, I disagree. I'm an Aldama guy.
See, I just don't think that I just don't think he's consistent enough, and I don't think that he does either side of the ball well enough to stay on the court that long.
So you're touting G.G. Jackson, but you make no sense.
I'm a believer in G.G. Jackson. Plus, he can shoot.
Well, that was not bad.
I'm not saying he's terrible shooting wise, but I don't know. I like the offensive talent from GG, especially some of the improvements that he showed a little bit more.
Because he's white. Let's just be honest here.
Who? Santi Aldama?
Yeah.
He's Spanish.
That's not white? You don't consider that white?
No, I consider it Spanish. If he was like Irish or like English or something, I would consider.
You'd say he's white.
Yeah. Or like Norwegian, like Laurie
that's
Martin.
Definitely really fucking white.
Snow White. I completely forgot they had Derrick Rose, but also Brandon Clark.
Derrick Rose forgot he was on that team.
True. Brandon Clark should return.
Yeah.
So that's another decent player.
Brandon Clark was playing last year. He came back.
I mean, yeah, he only played 6 games.
3 minutes, but
John Conchar. He was a huge fantasy pickup throughout the year.
Speaking of really white guys too, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Markkanen.
True.
Apparently, the Warriors covet him, so we'll see what happens.
Well, also speaking of white guys, we didn't talk about Alex Caruso going to Oklahoma City.
He steals the ball. He's
I
white and he steals the ball.
I like Caruso a lot, and I think him on Oklahoma City just makes so much sense.
We both do. We both like him because we were both saying when the Lakers they didn't fucking keep him.
True. But he already, if I look at the Defensive Player of the Year odds on Bovada, he's at plus 3,500. Somehow he has the same Defensive Player of the Year odds as Jared Allen. And he's not far behind Derek White. So
I mean, good thing they kept Talen Horton-Tucker over Caruso.
Yeah, great thing for them.
It worked out well.
Now they got Bronny.
Don't get me started.
I had a feeling you had something about that.
And you want to know something too? All of these guys, and I'm talking guys who I genuinely like don't mind listening to. Right. Woj, Windhorse. They're talking about how nepotism has always been around, and not on this level. I mean, if you want to talk about like indirectly coaxing a player, any team that got Bronny, LeBron was going to that team.
Yeah.
There's a reason, though, that teams didn't want Bronny. And I'm not saying it's not because he's like a horrible player. He's very behind developmentally. He certainly didn't do much in college. Right. He's got issues in terms of health from a physical standpoint. Like, that's pretty concerning. But we're talking about a guy who you're telling me that the Lakers, if LeBron James retired at the end of last season, you're telling me the Lakers would have drafted Bronny James?
No, probably not.
The hell no, they're not drafting him. And not only that, is this motherfucker's a second-round draft pick, and they already got to negotiate with him about whether he's going to be on not on a two-way, but if he's going to get an actual standard contract.
Right.
I mean, is that what level we're at to get LeBron James? And they wonder why people don't like LeBron James.
I will say the only reason that I didn't really care about it is because he was an end of the second round pick. And like, sure, you could go and try and get some other guy that was out there. But the odds of that end of the second round pick turning out to be somebody that's even playable aren't that high. So like, I don't really care like what they did with it, but I will say the only two nepotism things in the NBA that were somewhat remotely close to it, I would say, are Doc Rivers signing Austin Rivers to a decently sized contract because everyone knew he didn't deserve that, and Jerry Colangelo bringing on Brian Colangelo at the Sixers. I think both of those were uncalled for, undeserved, and like somewhat close. But the other thing too is we have never seen a father play long enough in the NBA to even have this scenario play out.
That's cool from that standpoint.
Yeah, like that is cool. My first thought though was, you know how like when rookies come in and everyone has like the whole rookie hazing and blah, blah, blah. They say they don't do it anymore, but we all know they do it. Now is it like, does LeBron get mad if they do it? If someone talks shit to him in practice or something, does like LeBron get mad at him because that's his son?
Yes.
Like, how does that whole thing play out?
The only person that will have the balls to talk shit to him would be LeBron, because
Right.
that's his son. You can say whatever the fuck you want to him. Redick ain't gonna do it.
Nope.
Anthony Davis, he'll probably be in a trainer's room somewhere. He's not gonna be in practice saying anything. So
D'Lo's definitely not doing it.
No, D'Lo's like just glad hasn't been traded yet somewhere, because he's like, LA ain't too bad. They're gonna trade me to like Milwaukee or something.
Right.
And then I got to deal with the weather.
And Doc Rivers.
Right. So he's like keeping his mouth shut. But there's nobody like, and any hazing that he gets is going to have to be pre-approved by LeBron. Like, hey, we want to put a rubber snake in his bed. Is that cool? Oh man, I think it's a little too. That's the type of shit we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. That's what my mind went to first, because I was like that's the type of shit that as a dad you're probably like, hey, knock that shit off, like if it's a normal scenario. But now it's like everyone's on this team and you got grown ass 30 to 35-year-old guys trying to win a championship, and then your son that everyone is already complaining nepotism about. Like, I feel like that whole thing is just going to be interesting. And yeah, JJ Redick, what's happening there? Well, like JJ Redick has never been a head coach for anything over the 4th grade level.
Can you picture like Bronny? He's up. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and you hear fucking LeBron comes in. Bronny's playing Call of Duty. Yo, man, what do you do? We got practice. He's playing fucking Call of Duty. He's like, we got a 1:00 game against Sacramento tomorrow. Or we got a 1:00 game against Portland. He's like, but Dad, it's only Portland. Okay, get some sleep. Turn that shit off.
Get off the damn video game.
Yeah, go on. We got a game tomorrow.
Could you imagine too home games when they're like sleeping at home with the family and they're like, all right, we gotta go to our game.
Yeah, bye, Mom. Like, because I still think he lives with him, doesn't he?
I thought so, yeah.
Like you're like, okay. Hey, after the game, you're gonna get out there and cut the grass. You know what I mean? Like,
if you don't hit 3 threes tonight, you have to wash dishes for a week.
Right? Come on, but Dad.
Did you ever have those like car ride home with your parent, or even car ride home? I get like with Dave or anything, where you're like telling them what they did wrong in the game and like what they could improve on and stuff.
She's just looking out the window like that.
Yeah, exactly. but now you're on the same team and you're on the way home, and LeBron's like, he's doing that same thing in press conferences where he's like, on minute 3 with like 5 seconds left of the second quarter, when I passed the ball off of a pin down and JJ called this play, why weren't you 2 feet away from the baseline?
He runs off the podium. Screw you, Dad.
I didn't want to be a Laker anyway.
I didn't even want to play basketball. He runs off. Fucking cry. Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, props to them for actually making it happen. Like, with all the rumors about it, I was like, I don't think it's actually going to happen. Like, people don't play that long in the NBA. And
if I were LeBron, I'd be like, get me back on the Lakers. Forget my son. Tell Jeannie to blow me.
Speaking of nepotism, we're not like, how come nobody brought up Jeannie?
I don't know. She's sexy.
Like,
I mean, she's 62 and she's a fucking knockout still.
She definitely looks good for her age. That's for sure.
She looks good in general. I'd be like, I'll take $3 if Genie blows me. I don't care how much you send me for.
It definitely helps being rich because I feel like all the rich people have all the little anti-aging secrets.
Yeah, I don't give two shits what it is. I'd be like, whatever. Give me a Genie. I'm down. Imagine if like Magic Johnson's son puts EJ.
Oh God, we're venturing into muddy waters now.
That would be nepotism.
That's true. That's true. I mean, someone posted a meme of like Dwayne Wade's son of just like
Hey,
no, the one that played in the G
sponsors.
League. The one that played in the G League.
Oh, okay. All right.
But he's like, why didn't my dad do that for me?
I was you better watch it.
It makes me feel old that a bunch of these players' sons are now like Jameer Nelson Jr. is on the Spurs summer league team. Like,
which is fucked up because he's like, it's like I remember playing NBA Jam.
Yeah, exactly. Like Jameer Nelson was a part of the Magic with Dwight Howard.
Who's next? Scott Skiles Jr.
I know, seriously. Well, I think it's the high school class of it's either 25 or 26 has Carlos Boozer's two sons.
That's crazy.
I know, it's ridiculous.
But you want to know something though? In Bronny's, that motherfucker, yeah, it may have been easier for him to get into the NBA, right. But there's probably not going to be a lot of guys who are going to get more shit than him on the court.
That's true. Because especially for the 55th overall pick.
People already hate LeBron as it is. You're not telling me they're not going to be fucking making a bunch of jokes, go tell your dad. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff that is going to be happening. Like, for this dude, like, buckle up, man. It ain't going to be easy.
Fans are going to be ruthless. That's for damn sure.
Yep. Everything he does is going to be under a microscope.
Yep. Completely agree. Well, unless there's anything else you have, I think that's it here for us.
No, I feel like we were starting to go down a dark path.
We were. Once I started hearing that, I was like, oh, we might need to just pull back on the reins until next time.
Yeah, when you start talking about Genie Buzz blowing you, that's how you know it's time to wrap stuff up.
That's a good point.
And then we're talking about Dwayne Wade's son.
What? Hey, you started it with Magic Johnson's son.
No, I just said it would be cool if Magic Johnson's son played.
Okay. Oh, God. Anyway, that is it for us. I don't think we are going to have another episode next week because I will be on vacation. So, unless you and Mike want to...
no, we're good. I got a lacrosse doubleheader. Not me, but...
Oh, God.
Busy being a dad.
Yeah, that's a long time.
But I'm like Santa Claus now. I only come once a year.
That's a great way to wrap it up right there.
And you can interpret that in any way you want to.
Exactly. Thank you, YTBS. Thank you, Mario, Dimitri, History Swan, Maggie, Grant. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Yes.
Is she Margaret?
No, her name is actually just Maggie.
That's odd. I mean, not odd. I'm sure she's not. I've seen her once in person.
Yeah,
very lovely. But I'm just saying it's kind of
different.
I don't even know if that's the right word for it.
Oh, is different bad now?
Well, coming from you, some of the shit you said tonight.
What is that?
Dwayne Wade's daughter said Dwayne Wade's son.
He still has a son.
We knew what you were talking about. Don't try. We knew.
Oh, God. On that note, thank you, everybody, for listening. to the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network.
I think Dwayne Wade's daughter has a skincare line now.
I mean, I could always use some good skincare.
Yeah, I'm down.
Maybe we can get a nice little sponsorship deal.
Anyway, have a great 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Don't blow
We'll
your
catch you
fucking
guys
hands
later.
off either.
Exactly. Peace.
Genie